Hi, I'm Mark Q. Jones from 940 ESPN Radio. PBS is presenting Ken Burns' new film on the life of Jackie Robinson, the heroic African-American player who broke the color barrier in professional baseball in 1947.
My father said the ballot and the buck are the ways to improve life for black people. We had fought to get the right to vote, but that was only the first step. He felt the next movement had to be in economic development.
We're back here at Valley PBS to continue our discussion about Jackie Robinson's impact on and off the field. We'll hear from a panel of current and former athletes from our own community who have benefited from and helped to advance Robinson's legacy. Please stay with us for part 2 of Jackie Robinson, A Conversation.
Funding for Jackie Robinson is provided by Bank of America, Public Broadcasting Service, Corporation for Public Broadcasting, the Arthur Vining Davis Foundations, and the following generous donors. And a grant from WETA, Washington, D.C.
Thank you for joining us. My guests have all played sports at the elite level and are very involved with strengthening our local community. First, Dr. Jim Aldridge is back with us. After playing professional baseball in the 1950s, Dr. Aldridge returned to Fresno and served in a number of vital leadership positions. In 1986, Dr. Aldridge was named Fresno's city manager, the first African-American to ever hold that post. Next, Terrance Frazier. After playing at Fresno State, he played professionally for the Oakland A's. He then returned to Fresno and has built one of the city's top property investment companies. He also founded the nonprofit Central Cal Baseball Academy. Also joining us is Andrea Duran. She's a national pro fast pitch champion from the city of Selma. Before that, she won 2 national championships playing softball for UCLA, where Jackie Robinson's early athletic achievements continue to inspire. And Thomari Story-Harden, CEO of Team Avenue Baseball, a student-athlete development program in the Valley. He played for 6 years with the LA Dodgers organization. Dr. Aldridge, more than anyone here, you probably have seen so much about Jackie Robinson's life because you were growing up during that time. What was his impact as far as equality and racial balance when you were coming up?
Yeah, I think even some of the folks here lived through that era, and that constantly is something that we really cherish, that there was that kind of progress made when it comes to what we see now in other sports. I mean, never did I ever think that you would see the kind of participation and involvement of African Americans in any place outside of California and New York. Now you see the whole team is Mississippi, you see, Louisiana and that kind of thing. And that is a part of that opening of the ways to get into higher education and further, their education as well as sports.
Thank you, Doc. We're going to talk with everyone on the panel about this, but let's take a look at a clip from part 2 of Ken Burns' film on Jackie Robinson.
As the 1949 season began, Branch Rickey told Robinson he could now play without restraint. Robinson didn't need any encouragement. When a reporter asked him what opponents could expect from him, Robinson replied, "They better be rough on me, because I'm going to be rough on them."
Jack said, "We've got this thing going, the team is winning, I'm doing well, I'm going to speak out." And so he began to challenge other ball players and challenge umpires when he thought they had made a mistake.
Sports writers seemed to come directly to me whenever there was a hint of a story. They knew I would say what I thought. They knew I wouldn't back down if I got into trouble. That I wouldn't whine that I was misquoted. It felt good to breathe freely, to speak out when I wanted to.
That season, Robinson played better than he ever had. By mid-July, he was leading the league in hits, batting average, stolen bases, and runs batted in. When all the votes were tallied for the 1949 All-Star Game, only Red Sox outfielder Ted Williams had received more.
You know, kids are honest. And when the kid came back 3 times for my autograph, I said, "Why would you want 3 of mine?" Well, he was honest. He said, "Actually, I want 6. If I can get 6 of yours, I could trade it for 1 of Jackie Robinson's."
Other teams were beginning to integrate, but no club moved as quickly as the Dodgers. Catcher Roy Campanella had hit almost 500 in April. Don Newcomb threw a complete game shutout in his first big league start and won 5 of his first 6 decisions. But the 3 men were assigned lockers in a corner of the clubhouse, and they showered separately from their white teammates, many of whom were still uncomfortable playing with blacks.
Ebbets Field, Brooklyn, scene of the 16th annual All-Star Game. Jackie Robinson up. Jackie rifles a shot into left field. The first Negro player to appear in an All-Star Game. The Brooklyn Dodgers speed merchant doesn't stop running till he flies into second with a double.
In the middle of his spectacular 1949 season, Robinson was asked to testify before the House Un-American Activities Committee, which was investigating individuals and groups suspected of having communist sympathies.
The Committee on Un-American Activities, itself the center of no little controversy, was delving this week into still another question of communism. Where lies the loyalty of our Negro population in these days of critical Cold War tensions?
The House committee was targeting the singer, activist, and former college football star, Paul Robeson, and was sure that Jackie Robinson would refute Robeson's claim that blacks would not fight in case of war against the Soviet Union.
He don't plant taters, he don't plant cotton. Them that plants them is soon forgotten.
You have not heard a bass baritone sing until you hear a recording of Robeson. He was also a serious radical. He was a great fan of the Soviet Union, and he spoke his mind.
For me, Paul Robeson was the tallest tree in our forest. Robeson stood that strong in our midst as the kind of voice, not only for the issues affecting black people, but for issues affecting poor people, saying, this is also our space, this is also our turf, this is also our country.
Branch Rickey, fervently anti-communist, had urged Robinson to testify.
I've been asked to express my views on Paul Robeson's statements in Paris to the effect that American Negroes would refuse to fight in any war against Russia because we love Russia so much. I haven't any comment to make except that, on that statement, except that if Mr. Robeson actually made it, it sounds very silly to me. It isn't very pleasant for me to find myself in the middle of a public argument that has nothing to do with the standing of the Brooklyn Dodgers in the pennant race, or even to the pay raise I'm going to ask Mr. Branch Rickey for next year.
The Daily News called Robinson a credit not only to his own race, but to all American people, while the New York Post ran an excerpt from the statement as an editorial titled Credo of an American.
The reaction in the white press, it was, oh, it's great. He gave this very nice statement, and he said black people were loyal and black people were patriotic and so forth and so on. The black press, it was mixed because Robeson was seen as a hero among black people.
The poet Langston Hughes, writing in the Chicago Defender, wondered how the House committee could investigate Reds and second basemen but not the Ku Klux Klan. The habit of bad-mouthing, one woman wrote of Robinson to the Pittsburgh Courier, is a slavery trait and should have been outgrown.
It's an example of one of Robinson's great missteps. The government was using him to destroy another African American. It's always been a great strategy to have one black person criticize another to drive a wedge between the black community. And it was very effective.
The investigation ruined Robeson's career. The singer himself declined to criticize Robinson and instead denounced the hearing as an insult to all Negro people. Meanwhile, Robinson continued to excel on the field. On the final day of the season, Brooklyn clinched the National League pennant for the second time in 3 seasons. But in the World Series, Jackie struggled at the plate. The Dodgers again lost to the New York Yankees. Still, 1949 was Robinson's finest year.
You know, as we start the second part of this discussion, one thing that hits me is that we take for granted minorities in professional sports, and you've all had opportunity to make money at the professional level. What would your life be without baseball?
Well, I didn't make very much money at the professional level, but I can honestly say I don't think I would be in this seat today if it wasn't for baseball. I grew up with God in my life, and I truly believed that this was going to be my way of getting out of the hood. You know, growing up in Oakland, we struggled, you know, and I felt baseball was my refuge. So I knew I can always, if I found a baseball and I found a bat, somebody would play baseball with me. So sometimes we didn't know where our next meal would come from, but I knew where my next baseball game would be played at. And that meant a lot for me, you know, just knowing or just watching Ricky Henderson, watching Dave Henderson, Mike Stewart pitching with the A's and just going, man, one of these days I'm going to get that opportunity to play for the A's. And I think if I didn't have baseball, I don't think I'd have anything really to look forward to, you know, when times were tough, you know. And same thing when I went to college. I don't think I would have my education if I didn't have baseball. And same thing with my investment group. If I didn't have baseball to give me that education, I wouldn't have the business I own today. So baseball and Jackie have pretty much trailblazed it for not only for me, but for my kids and for the next generation that's going to come behind me.
Yeah.
Same thing for me. I'm from Richmond, California, not too far from Terrance, and you know, I didn't know exactly what Jackie did until probably after I was done playing. But you know, being able to go to University of San Francisco, getting drafted out of high school, it taught me a lot of life lessons about adversity, about pressing forward as far as no matter what happens in your life. And so, just the life lessons that I learned through the game, and after the game, being able to pay it forward to student athletes and all the things that I've learned, being able to pass it on forward and learning about exactly what Jackie did, I didn't really recognize until later and after the fact. So,
I think for me, athletics has always been a big part of my life. So I'd like to think that I would be still involved in some kind of way in some different sport. But as far as softball goes, it allowed me a lot of opportunities that I probably wouldn't have gotten living in a small town in California. Allowed me to get an education at a major university, going to UCLA. It allowed me to try out for the Olympics and make it and be able to travel all over the world and to not only play but also give back. We do a lot of clinics over in Italy, in South America, and those kind of experiences really open your eyes up to how fortunate we are here in the U.S. To have all that we have. And without softball, I wouldn't be able to do that. I wouldn't be able to give back to my community and to all those young athletes out there. And I definitely wouldn't be sitting in this chair today. So,
Doc?
I think it's kind of ditto on what it meant to me to play professional baseball. It got me out of, not that it was all that bad, because I didn't quite know I was as poor as I was, but it got me out of West Fresno. And I had to establish my independence to support my mother back home, as well as to start figuring out a way also to get my education, because I signed right out of high school. But with some of the money that I got, I did go to college on it after I got hurt. So it's been a cornerstone for me.
Well, Doc, you know, I know your story. I've read your book. But share with us, I mean, we're transitioning. Jackie's still playing right now in the part of the documentary we're watching, but at some point, all athletes are former athletes. You're no longer playing.
Yeah.
And you were such a top prospect for the Pirates, and you got injured, and it was a life-changing injury. Share that with us.
Yeah. Well, I think we have the author of the book, my book.
We'll
right
get to
there,
him later, yeah.
That talks about it in a split second. And we're doing some other work now in trying to motivate young people, especially young minority people, to understand what the fork in the road is. That, you know, you might try that sport that you really are good at, but never forget education, because education is that lifelong insurance policy. When all else fails, you know, they can't take away your education. So I think that that is something that you know, we have to instill in young folks.
Well, how did it affect you at such that young age to have a career-ending injury?
It was quite traumatic. I went home and then went back. I don't want to take these shades off because folks go, "Oh, his eye," you know. But it was traumatic, and it ended it. And the name of the book, interestingly enough, is A Split Second. In a split second, the career was finished while I was sliding into second base, and the shortstop came across and stayed low and hit me in the eye. Then it was like, I have to make these choices. Now what am I going to do? And so I decided that I better go back to school. And so I went back to school, and for about 3 years without passing up a semester, because the education was important, because it was, you know, the career was wiped out. So I think that it can provide that education. I did not get a chance to go to a couple of universities that were asking about me. It was Stanford University and University of California at Berkeley, because economic necessity at home dictated that I sign. And so I did that. And it wound up being good, but it was traumatic as well. Now, what do I need to do now? And the choice, and I'll finish this, I know we don't have much time. The choice was, do I go back home and stand around on the corner and talk trash, or do I get myself back in school and be somebody? As my mother, you know, was stressing, be somebody. I don't like to make the correlation too closely with my mother being like Rachel Robinson, but the influence of the mother and the female in the house, or the woman in the house, is a big one that can't be overlooked.
Freedom Now movement, hear me. We are requesting all citizens to move into Washington, to go by plane, by car, bus. We are pushing for jobs, housing, desegregated schools. Please join. Go to Washington.
On August 28, 1963, the Robinson family joined more than 250,000 Americans in Washington, D.C. in a peaceful show of hope and racial unity.
Well, I know if it hits you, you say, oh, yes, you will now. I want to tell you, it's going to get you.
I was 11 years old. For an 11-year-old kid, in the heart of it, with his father's arm, you know, over his shoulder as the protector and leader into this world. Yes, indeed. it was a fantastic day for myself personally, and I think for us as a nation, us as a race.
I remember the feel of, being in a wave and being part of something bigger than yourself, and that's a very great feeling.
The Bank of Justice is bankrupt. We refuse to believe that there are insufficient funds in the great vaults of opportunity of this nation. No, we are not satisfied, and we will not be satisfied until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream.
I have never been so proud to be a Negro, Robinson wrote. I have never been so proud to be an American.
Well, a very powerful piece from the documentary. Dr. Aldridge, you were around at that time, and you remember those times, and you've written a book that we talked a little bit about before, and you brought a special guest with you that has some history to share with us.
It was a paid commercial. I'm sorry, folks, but only commercial we have all night. Jerry Gabor was the author of a book about me from really as a young person, third grade all the way up until my current age. And the other thing that he'll share just a little bit of that. I'll brag enough about myself here, but we were talking about, or we almost got an author that Jerry is reading the text on as it relates to what he refers to in that book that's coming out. Was it 4 Black Bruins?
5 Black Bruins.
5 Black Bruins, which is Jackie Robinson Bruins. Was it UCLA Bruins, right? Okay, we got that. So,
Andrea knows that for sure.
Can you tell us about, especially the book, and what he's attempting to do, even at this late a point in history? And there's a couple of folks in there that are interesting to note, like Woody Strode, the actor. But go ahead.
Yes, we've seen the exploits of Jackie at UCLA. At the same time, in the late 30s, there were 4 other Bruins who rose to prominence too. Kenny Washington, he integrated the NFL. Tom Bradley became mayor of LA. Woody Strode, wonderful actor in many famous movies. And Ray Bartlett, a childhood friend of Jackie's in Pasadena. But throughout the book, the author, Jim Johnson of Tucson, Arizona, tells each story about their exploits, about their successes, and the struggles they had coming out of Los Angeles or Pasadena, and the racial struggles that they had. So that's really re-emphasizes the struggles that blacks had.
Didn't he have Jerry, didn't he also have a brother that ran second to Jesse Owens in the Olympics?
Jackie Robinson?
Yeah,
Jackie Mac Robinson.
Mac Robinson ran second in the Olympics.
He's in the book too. Their stories are all in the book, and the book will be out in about 1 year. It's at the publishers. I edited it and finished it in December, and publishing a book takes a long time.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jerry.
Jerry's talking about Bruin territory. It leads me right to our ultimate Bruin here, our national champion and Olympian. Andrea, when you were at UCLA, what was the talk about Jackie Robinson? Did the athletes know who he was?
Oh, yes. Jackie Robinson. There's a kind of a joke we tell. If there's ever any kind of trivia about a male athlete at UCLA setting any kind of record or doing anything great, we would always say that the go-to answer is Jackie Robinson. Like, that's your go-to answer. If you don't know, you say Jackie Robinson, because he played football, he played basketball, he ran track, played baseball, of course, but did I already say that? He played 4 sports. But the baseball stadium's named after him. They recently, a couple weeks ago, they named the recreation center after him, the Jackie Robinson Recreation Center, Big 42 out front. So his legacy definitely lives on at UCLA, and it's really cool. I have a teammate who's actually African American. She just got inducted into the UCLA Hall of Fame, and her name's up there right next to Jackie's, and I think that it's really cool, and it really says something about how far we've come in athletics, for not only a African American to be up there, but an African American woman to be up there next to him. So
really good perspective. Did you know anything about him coming out of Selma going into UCLA?
Honestly, I don't think I did. Who I knew about was Rayford Johnson, because he grew up in Kingsburg. Yeah. And I remember my dad took me out to practice out when the junior high in Kingsburg was named after him. And my dad's always really good about telling me history about stuff. So he said, Rayford Johnson, Olympian, UCLA Bruin, you know. And so I remember going to UCLA thinking about Rayford Johnson, and then later learning about Jackie Robinson. And I just recently got to meet Rayford Johnson, which was really cool.
Oh, wow. So, a lot of rich history.
Yeah.
Thomari, when you played for the Dodgers organization, did you know much about Jackie?
Well, actually, not a whole lot. My first day, I was in the player development office, and Lucci Guerra said, "You look like Jackie Robinson," to me, and in his picture of him sliding, and so that's after that, and knowing his history with the Dodgers, and so that's when I first really start finding out more and more, because just growing up, I didn't really, other than Rickey Henderson, I didn't really have a whole lot of heroes growing up. So, you know, and then after I was done with with my career, and then starting my baseball academy, a lot of what I did looking back in researching Jackie comes from the opportunity of me being able to play being from Richmond, and being able to play minor league ball and move forward through the ranks. I mean, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have had an opportunity to do really anything in baseball and to go to college and things of that nature. So I know him now, you know, and I really appreciate the work that and the framework that he allowed us to be able to play the sport, but more importantly than playing it, being able to give back to others.
I'm going to hold right there. We have a question from an audience member.
Thank you. My name is George Hicks, and I've been a Dodger fan all my life. I remember my first memories were from 1949. I was 4 years old, and I didn't really know about Jackie. I knew about the Dodgers. My dad would ask me, "Who's your favorite baseball team?" The Dodgers. And I found out the reason why the Dodgers were our team was because of Jackie. And we watched the rise of the Dodgers with the rise of Jackie. It was just something that made our nation proud. And I say our nation. I can remember coming home from school, and maybe I was in a fight, and my daddy would ask me, "Why were you fighting?" I'd say, "Well, he called me a certain word." Well, when he talked to the teacher said that was not true. But I didn't really understand the word. He called me a Negro, but I think he mispronounced it. And I got into a fight. I preferred being called colored, because they would mispronounce that other word. But anyway, I watched baseball grow. My wife had relatives played for the Dodgers. Willie Davis was her cousin. Charlie Neal was her brother-in-law. I mean, it was just fantastic. But I saw the Dodgers grow to a point where, at one point, I almost saw an all-black team out on the field. I remember the Pittsburgh Pirates once fielded an all-black team, and that gave me pride. But what my question is, why is there a fall-off in the number of black baseball players that we see on the field today? Do you have any input as
Terrance,
to why.
you've got an academy. Can you give us a little insight on that?
Well, I started my baseball academy about 21 years ago, and I saw this coming. And it's not just the money thing, because travel ball started about 20-some years or 30-some years ago, but it became a money issue. Part of it was a money issue, and part of it was the African-American fathers were no longer coaching. They were not out there with their kids playing baseball anymore. Baseball didn't look like us. When we turned on the TV, baseball was really white. You know, so me, growing up, I didn't see any black African-American other than Dave Stewart and just because I was from Oakland. But when I turned the TV on, everybody was white. So my friends, when we watch TV, when we watch basketball, people are black and they're football players. So I was the oddball black guy that wants to play a white man's sport. And so it wasn't just the money, it was also, man, all these basketball players, man, they got fancy cars, and they got the football players, they got all this gold jewelry. And I'm like, man, the baseball guys, they ain't got nothing. So, you know, so I think it wasn't just, you know, the fact that it became expensive. It was expensive, and then we also didn't have really a role model to look up to make us want to go play the sports. And that's why I started starting the baseball academy, so I can bring back the African Americans and also the Hispanics that don't have money. It was more of that.
The black people in this country have been the victims of violence at the hands of the white man for 400 years. And following the ignorant Negro preachers, we have thought that it was godlike to turn the other cheek to the brute that was brutalizing us. And today,
Jack opposed any form of violence. Even the rhetoric that goes with violence, he opposed. So it was hard for him to support Malcolm X when he was saying by any means necessary, because that meant to young people, do what you have to do. And Jack was afraid of that. He thought the militancy would lead to disaster.
Writing now for Harlem's Amsterdam News, Robinson denounced Malcolm X as a man without a plan and accused him of being militant on Harlem street corners where militancy is not dangerous.
Malcolm X writes a fiery letter to Jackie Robinson in which he says, "You are subservient to your white benefactors. You were subservient to Branch Rickey, and now you're subservient to Nelson Rockefeller. You have lost touch with the black masses."
My father said the ballot and the buck are the ways to improve life for black people. We had fought to get the right to vote, but that was only the first step. He felt the next movement had to be in economic development, and that was going to be critical to our advancement as a people.
Malcolm X said, "Look, I don't want to sit just at the counter. I want to own the saucer. I want to own the cup. I want to own the restaurant." And Robinson liked to quote that in his speeches.
In 1964, Robinson helped found Freedom National Bank, a primarily black-owned and operated institution that would serve the people of Harlem, who for years had struggled to get home mortgages and business loans.
The stereotype of the Negro as a bad credit risk persisted. Freedom National has already disproved this myth.
Soon the bank opened a second branch in the Bedford-Stuyvesant section of Brooklyn.
World-known sports figure and now somewhat of a political luminary, you're also quite a businessman.
Well, I had natural baseball talents. I don't have natural business talents.
You don't?
I don't have natural. No, I have to learn this. I think that this is the next frontier, business and politics. We're only hoping that we can get the same kind of support here as we did at Ebbets Field.
3 years after it opened, Freedom National Bank would be the most successful black-run bank in the country.
Thomari, I want to ask you, you have worked with a lot of kids and you just watched a clip about life after sports. And what's some of the qualities that you're trying to teach to young people in your program?
Definitely leadership. You know, especially with schools nowadays, you have players, student athletes going different ways. And so being a leader, standing up for what you know is right, not just doing what everyone else does. So definitely the leadership quality is huge, and that's something that I learned through sports, and that not only transcends through sports, but transcends through business, life, everything. So I guess what the biggest is leadership, for sure.
You all have been impacted by this, so I think this is a good question for all of you. I mean, how has it impacted you? You're still playing, but one day you won't. I mean, what are some of the qualities that you've gained from being an athlete that you think will carry on in the rest part of your life?
I think, like Thomari said, just life lessons. I think I've learned so many things through sports that I don't think I would have learned on my own. And we teach a lot of kids out at the clinics that I do that it's all about your journey. Everybody's journey is going to be different. And so if somebody next to you is doing something great, like, don't worry about them. Like, it's all about you. It's all about your process. If you focus on your process, then you're going to get that success later on. But if you focus on your result and your success, then it's going to put pressure on you, and you're going to be stressed out. So just enjoy that journey, which is kind of like your life, and just what are you going to do different than everybody else to set yourself apart. So that's kind of what I've learned, and that's what I kind of like to teach little kids. So.
Wow, we got a load of questions here.
Hi, my name is Marvin Wiggs. I'm a local golf professional here in Fresno, California. And first of all, I heard you say something about Mr. Aldridge being a former athlete. I'm here to attest that he's still quite a good golfer. Okay. But my question to the panel would be, as we look back from the past 60, 70 years on where Mr. Robinson came into the game, where are we going to be 60 years from today? What impact? What player or what race or who's gonna be the next impact on baseball and all sports?
Wow, great question, because we've seen it on the female side with the Williams sisters. You got all the athletes now on the men's side. Who wants to tackle that one?
I hope that the next thing's going to be more equality in sports for women. We don't get the opportunities that the men get. I play professionally. I'm a professional softball player, and we get pennies compared to the men. And we're the top athletes of our sports. We are the Derek Jeters and the Alex Rodriguez's in our sports, and we don't get the opportunity and we don't get the funding like the men do. And for women, it's more of, we have a double standard. How we look is addressed. How sexy we are. Sexism is a big thing with female athletics, and we all hope that one day our athleticism is focused on instead of that other thing, instead of sexism and having that double standard. We don't get the respect that we deserve from society or the media, and like Carrie was talking about in the last panel, just trying to change that perspective of women in sports and women athletes. For me personally, I hope that's the next goal, to get women as respected as men.
Wow, I think you nailed it out. I don't think we have anything to add on that one. Thank you so much.
Can I make one comment?
Yeah, go ahead.
He's going to give me 2 strokes on the golf course next time I go out there.
Okay.
But, the other thing I think that can give another part of the movement to be really positive is when, like, minority athletes, as an example, African-American athletes, start to view themselves and be viewed as student athletes. In high school, you are a student athlete. When you get to college, you're a student athlete. And I think the student part is left out. So I think once we get that going, then it'll have a lasting effect rather than 2 years and out.
I know the other 2 gentlemen are working on that with these kids in these programs. And we have a local high school coach coming up to talk to us now. Coach?
I'm Cliff Rold. I'm the baseball coach at Edison High School. And I've had the privilege of working with a lot of these gentlemen, and I've watched your career. But the thing that, we talk about Jackie Robinson, 1946. Dr. Aldridge, you talked about, baseball in 1959. And I think to you, Terrance, you came through in the early 80s. What kind of transition did you see in baseball, in society at large, and how do you project that over the last 25 years, to where you are today in business? And what kind of social effects do you see the game of baseball, but just life in general for the population and the impact of Jackie Robinson some 70 years ago?
Man, that's a 10-pronged question. It's a very good question, Cliff. And I thank you for all you're doing, because you've been given a lot of African American the opportunity to be able to be equal with other baseball athletes. And so I just wanted to commend you on that, coming from mostly an African American school, and you being a white guy, kind of, and partially just look like it. But so I commend you on that. But I will tell you some of the things that I have seen. Both of my sons are African American, and watching them play in the baseball league where they only had 6 African American. So 2 of them was my son. So I owned a third of the African Americans that are actually playing high school sports in the track, which is a baseball league. So that was very disappointing for me, knowing I've been doing this for 21 years. So I feel like I have failed, that I don't have enough African Americans actually that I should have been recruiting or talking to at this time. So 21 years, there's 6 in the track. It doesn't make sense. And then I look back at my high school career. I came out as a catcher, and the comments came when I came to Fresno State. I came to Fresno State as a catcher, and what was told to me, because I never got an opportunity to catch, what was said to me, well, Fresno's not ready for a black catcher. What do you mean by that? You know what I'm saying? That's the comments I heard. Now people go, "What? No, nobody said that." Don't. I'm telling you what was said to me. So I never got a chance to put on the catcher's mitt. So I go, well, they better be ready for a black outfielder. I couldn't catch out there either. So I go, well, you know what? They're gonna be ready for a black hitter. So instead of me taking it as something negative, I go, you know what? I'm not gonna just indulge in that area. I'm just gonna find something positive out of it. So I'm not gonna get stuck there. And then when I go to when I look at pro ball, black men if you go look at the baseball, the roster, black men have become extinct to baseball. There's not too many black men that's out there. What you see is Dominicans. Because, what I feel is, they're saying, well, they're easier and they're cheaper to deal with than the African-American man. Because the African-American man, once he can hit and he can run and he's able to get the money that he deserves, they go, well, we can get somebody cheaper if we just go to the Dominican Republic. So, which I don't think is fair. But if you go out there, you can see they're building stadiums for them. They're building for little kids are getting facilities. Well, why don't we have that in Fresno? Why don't we have big league dreams? Why don't we have something like that here? Why don't we have like those same things in Oakland? Why are some of these places? Why don't we have the same thing they have? So it hurts me where I'm looking at our city of Fresno and I'm like, why are we not fixing up these parks on the west side? Look at the parks on the west side. Look at the parks on the southeast. And look at Edison. Cliff, you've been fighting over there for 15, 20 years for them to come fix your parks. And you happy just when they just give you $5 over there. I mean, so I'm saying we need to start focusing more on these underserved areas instead of start looking up north and start focusing on that.
Jackie Robinson in the 1940s is this symbol of black masculinity. By the 1960s, that narrative has changed. And what you see with people like Muhammad Ali and Jim Brown is a much more militant, in-your-face view of black masculinity. And what they see is that the old manner of black respectability is limiting because what it denies is the full expression of humanity, of black humanity. By the late 1960s, that same dignity and restraint is frowned upon and seen as unmanly because it is not aggressive and is not as militant.
Black people became disappointed with integration. They felt that integration had not lived up to the promises, and the hero became, the big athletic hero was Muhammad Ali, and he refuses to accept induction into the army.
The real enemies of my people are right here, not in Vietnam.
Well, I think that he's hurting, the morale of a lot of young Negro soldiers over in Vietnam. And the tragedy to me is that Cassius has made millions of dollars off of the American public. And now he's not willing to show his appreciation to a country that is giving him, in my view, a fantastic opportunity.
You were born free. You have to exercise that right, brother.
Robinson charged newspapers, black and white, with making too much of young militants like H. Rap Brown. But he also criticized the NAACP for being too moderate and for refusing to promote younger, more aggressive leaders from within its ranks.
You could see him flailing, trying to find the right way to get through all of this tumult. But he stayed in the fight. Even when you could make arguments that elements of the black culture rejected him for being out of touch. He had his vision about how to get there, and he never stopped.
We cannot exclude any means except violence. I don't go for that, but any other means, if it means...
Jackie Robinson felt an obligation to speak out. Any of us who find ourselves in positions of power where our voice matters, where we are heard, have to do a constant gut check. Are we doing enough to make sure that voice is active on behalf of the values that are deepest in us, that matter most to us?
All right, well, let's take a question from our audience.
Well, good afternoon. Mark, Jim, I know you're from the Valley here, and I'm from the Valley. In fact, you were my student, Mark.
Mr. Craig from
And
Washington.
Jim, we played against each other in the 50s. My question is, since baseball is on a downward because of all the other sports, you cannot participate in more than 2 sports in high school now. So if you had an opportunity to run track and play baseball, you have to say or choose between baseball and track because they go together. Yeah. So what would be your solutions to those athletes? Hey, I want to play baseball and run track. Back in the day, they did not overlap.
Oh, that's a real, well, no, that's a great question. Thank you, Mr. Craig. You know, it has become specialized. And, you know, I think we all played different sports at one point or another, but in high school, I got into just playing basketball. Andrea, you had a story about you loved basketball but got into softball. Doc, you played several different sports. I think it's healthy to have kids play several different sports, but it's not happening too often.
Well, yeah, I'm glad you said that because Fresno had one of the greatest base stealers, fastest runner of all time, which was your cousin,
yes,
Tom Goodwin. Tom Goodwin probably could have ran for the Olympic team, but he had to, and I know he ran track and he played football, played basketball, but he had to start specializing in baseball once he got to college. And I think it's very important once you get to college, you got to, or even your senior year, you got to start making a choice of what sport you want to specialize in. At a young age, I think kids should play all different sports because what they're looking for athletes, not just a one-sport athlete, you know, because that sport could go down, or it could be a Derek Jeter in front of you, or it could be a Michael Jordan in front of you. So you got to be versatile. As far as the Tom Goodwin, and he was just an exceptional player. I think if you know your talent, if you know you're 5'5", you got to tell your kid, get out of basketball. I mean, at a certain time, because there's kids in Dominican, there's kids in Mexico, kids, and they're all fighting for that one scholarship. They're fighting for that one scholarship, and so sometimes you have to go and specialize in your sport at a certain time. Me, I did. I specialized in baseball because I knew I had no other opportunity. My mom was short. I don't know what my dad was like, but I'm just like, you know what? I'm not going to be 6'5", so I need to find a sport that I could just do, and I know I could do well and just practice at it every day. So I did specialize in it. Yeah. I preach to my younger kids, do not specialize in one sport, play all different sports, because most kids are not going to play professional ball, and most kids are not going to play college, so they need to have as much fun as they can, because you got 1 or 2% of kids that's actually going on to play college, and probably half of that's going on to play pro ball, so they don't need to be specializing at a young age.
think we got one more question. By the way, Tom one time ran off the baseball field, ran onto the track field to do a relay team. One of the few athletes to play in 3 City County All-Star games in the same year.
And he got a gold medal,
and
too.
He got a gold medal. First baseman for the Mets. We got a little guy here, a little shortstop looks like. Tell us, what's your question?
Hi, my name is Thomari, and this question is for my dad. What was it like growing up?
As far as growing up, again,
playing baseball growing
up in Richmond. I mean, when it comes to travel ball, we didn't have travel ball. We didn't have a whole lot of opportunities with baseball growing up. So I had to, luckily I met a gentleman named Bob Williams who was the founder of Area Code Games. And I made All League, and I went to a tryout for Australia and made the team, went to Australia, experienced this cultural experience of the Aussies and living in a host family and, you know, playing competitive baseball, having scouts for coaches. So that opened the door for me, and it was from making a phone call after winning an award. And that award meant a lot to me, and I wanted to see how I could leverage that. And from that, there was other opportunities and doors that opened up for me to later get drafted and, you know, play professional baseball. But ultimately, it was the mentors that came into my life and picked me up from school, picked me up from my house, sponsored me to even grow to have passion for baseball and seeing how I could leverage that in my life. So.
Mentors are very important. We're about to close out, but I do know we have a special visual that I'd like to show. I mean, coming from Selma, California, and we're talking about how sports impact us. You were in the Olympics, and you won a medal. Do you have a medal?
I did win a medal. Unfortunately, not unfortunately, but it's silver. I say unfortunately because we were favored to win the golds, but we came up short in the last game. But, you know, a lot of people aren't Olympians, and even fewer win medals, so this thing's very dear to my heart. So, yep, I went, it was in 08 in Beijing.
Wow.
So.
Well, I want to thank all panelists for coming on, Dr. Aldridge, Terrance, Frazier, Thomari, and Andrea, for all coming out and sharing your stories. Thanks to all of our panelists and our audience here in the studio. This has been a great discussion. Be sure to catch the full Ken Burns documentary on Jackie Robinson here on Valley PBS. For everyone here at the station, I'm Mark Q. Jones. Thank you for watching.
Funding for Jackie Robinson is provided by Bank of America, Public Broadcasting Service, Corporation for Public Broadcasting, the Arthur Vining Davis Foundations, and the following generous donors. And a grant from WETA, Washington, D.C.